Oh, we appear to be live. That was awkward. The intro is always awkward, you know. Let's wait for some people to hop in here and just be a part of it all. Hey, Farland. Yep. Hail and welcome, Patrick Walsh. Hail, hello. Uh-oh, I got a ding. You know what the ding means, right? The ding means that somebody wants to be a part of this live stream. I wonder who that might be. Who do you guys think that might be? Finishing off the last of your raspberry mead tonight, Farland. Finishing off the last of your raspberry mead. Oh, look who we got here. We got Matt Petrie of the almighty Odin's Beard Woodworking joining us tonight. Hello, Aaron Kinaway. Yeah, what's up, Matt Petrie?
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right, man. It's a Friday night. How's everything going? Says Aaron. It's going all right, I guess. Going all right.
Are we live?
We are live, man. We are live and live in color.
Oh, right.
You know that song by Living Color, Cult of Personality, right? Look in my eyes, what do you see? A cult of personality. Something like that.
Hey, everybody. I just got my chat up and going, so.
Got the chat up and going, Matt Petrie. Got the chat up and going. Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
No copyright claims. Yeah. Cult of personality. Macho man. Yeah. Yeah. Something like that. Houston, we are here, says Patrick Walsh. Yes. Houston, we are here. We are here live streaming. It's just a random Friday night live stream. No big deal. No big thing going on right now. It's good to see you, Farland. Good to see you, Aaron. Good to see you, Patrick. Anybody listening, watching, give that video that you're watching right now, please give it a thumbs up. Smash that like button. It helps the algorithm out. Share it around if you want to get some people in here talking about some things. You know, you never know what we might get into here on these sort of live streams. It is very random.
Link on Facebook so I can post out on everything and be like, hey guys, come join us.
Yeah, do you need the YouTube?
Yep, the YouTube, so they can come join us on YouTube.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And smile.
Let me send it to you, Matt. Smile, you're on candid camera. Yeah, but you guys just share the video out right now. What's up, Zach? Zach Moons says hail. Yes, hail to you on this Friday night, Saturday morning, wherever it is that you are.
I really like
this. Aaron says they found a new scotch that that I ever heard on Doers. Yeah, Doers. Doers is a thing. I've dabbled into Doers before. Doers is a blended scotch, actually. You know, for which for those that consume alcohol, scotches particularly, Doers, Chivas, Johnny Walker, These are your blended Scotch. They're kind of high end. When I say high end, I mean like mid shelf, top shelf type blended Scotches. Nothing exceptional to write home about, but they get the job done. Patrick Walsh says, "So excited! My great friend is arriving from Kentucky. She'll be here within a couple hours." Nice.
Nice. What part of Kentucky?
Yeah. Right, like what part of Kentucky, man? Because like, first of all, Matt here, who just like barged in and was like, "Oh, cool. You guys got a live stream going on. I'm gonna come in here and hang out for a bit." Like he's from Kentucky. And then I live in a state that like butts up against Kentucky, So Missouri, where Patrick, I think, is at, is also a neighboring state to Tennessee, where I live. So we're all kind of like in the same neck of the woods, as it were, more or less. Southern Kentucky. Whereabouts? Are we talking like Owensboro? Are we talking like Bowling Green? Are we talking like
Corbin?
Corbin?
County?
What part of the south
County?
like what part of that southern part of Kentucky are we talking about? Because that southern part of Kentucky can touch, the west to the east to the mid to the who knows where.
I grew up, 20 minutes away from Tennessee, 45 minutes away from Knoxville.
Oh, so you're from the east end
border.
Yeah, you're on that southeastern.
Yeah,
you're on that southeastern slab. Patrick Walsh with that St. Louis, Missouri representing from the St. Louis area. So you got St. Louis, Missouri, and you've also got Missouri, St. Louis. There's another section of that. No, am I thinking Kansas? I don't know. My geography is off.
Oh, I was going to go share it into my groups, but Patrick already did that. Thank you, Patrick.
Oh, look at Patrick running the show.
Stuff.
Yeah,
right.
Big time admin flexing, Aaron's in South Carolina. Cool. My wife's going to be out there in South Carolina later next month. She's going to be heading out to, the Myrtle Beach area. Farland says, so south, you can always hear banjos in the distance. Man, banjos are one of those things where, it'll either make you feel at home or it'll make you feel like uncomfortable. If you hear banjos, right, you're like, oh man, it's home sweet home, or you're like, oh shit, something's about to happen. Something's about to go down. Thank you, Patrick, for sharing that. Says, no, you had it right at Missouri. Missouri. I think of, when I think of Missouri, right, the first thing that I think of when I think of the state of Missouri is I think of the outlaw Josie Wales. Has anybody here seen that Clint Eastwood film, The Outlaw Josie Wales? Because Matt, have you not seen The Outlaw Josie Wales?
I don't watch TV.
This ain't dude. This is like from back in like before we was even born, dude. The Outlaw Josie Wales talking about Missouri, the Missouri boat, the Missouri boat ride, and he has that big old friggin' was it black powder rifle? Patrick, you probably know because you're a big Clint Eastwood fan. I've seen your stuff. What's up, Godfrey Bear? What's up, man? Who says misery? I feel like a brown guy in the wrong place. Godfrey Bear is checking in from the Great White North of Canada.
Water.
Big shout out to my Canadian friends and family up in that region of the world. Aaron's about 45 minutes from Myrtle Beach. Cool. Awesome. But yeah, Clint Eastwood, man, in The Outlaw Josie Wales, he's like, we got this thing around here that we call the Missouri boat ride. And he's got this big old like black powder rifle that he just cocks that hammer back and he fires off around and he breaks he shoots the rope that's the tow line for the what's the word I'm talking the ferry boat that goes across the river. So there's this constant I guess reference to Missouri, or as they say in the movie, Missouri. They kind of disregard the final vowel in the name of the state, and they say Missouri. They kind of just it's very relaxed when they say Missouri. They say Missouri. You know, Aaron says they love that movie. I do too. It's one of my favorite movies. It's one of the very few movies that I can probably quote almost line for line, or at least I used to be able to quote line for line. And Missouri. It's the show me state, right, Patrick? It's the show me state. I don't know why it is I don't know why it is called that, but it's the show me state. Can anybody here that's from Missouri tell me why it's called that? The show me state. I don't know. Matt's carving away. What do you got working on here, Matt? Tell us about what you're carving here, man.
A broggy.
Bragi. Ooh wee. Ooh wee on that bragi. What do you got? A harp?
Yep.
Yes.
And then, depending on how long we go, an Odin.
Oh man. Okay. Well, you got some things in the pipeline working on here, guys. Matt from Odin's Beard Woodworking. Please be sure to check out Matt's handiwork. We're streaming live right now, Matt. Right. So for anybody that wants to get God poles commissioned by you,
I just turned off the website until I get caught up a little bit.
Okay.
But
all right. So Matt's a busy man.
On the weekends, I'm carving stuff to sell as is. So I just posted this week's weekend sells, which is I can show off. I got.
Please do. So this is Is this available right now? What you're showing?
Yep.
All right. So everybody, ladies and gentlemen, everybody, ladies and gentlemen that are watching live right now, here is your opportunity to score a hand carved piece from Matt. So this video that's streaming live right now, anybody that's watching, I want you to share this video because Matt just carved an Odin. What is this? A 7, 8 inch,
yep.
5, 6,
7, 8,
7, 8 inch. This is a natural.
It was actually carved under last full moon.
Okay.
This new stain takes a week to dry. It's just now dry.
Okay. So this is all phenomenal, right? So the last full moon, which was like what, less than a week ago.
Yep. Sunday.
Okay, so less than a week ago, this past Sunday, this Odin, 7, 8 inch Odin that you're seeing right now was carved under that full moon. Okay. It's taken this long for the stain, this natural stain, to dry. This is available right now. Matt, tell the people how they can reach you. If is this available? Is this sold? Yep. or what's the status?
No, it's available. Everything I have right now. I just made a post on Facebook if you want to go comment on it to claim stuff. That way it just keeps track of everything. If you're not on Facebook, I don't know.
If you're not on Facebook, I mean, I guess like, what do you want? Do you want it right now? You got show me the money, right? This is Wolf of Wall Street right now. This is a 7 to 8 inch natural stained Odin.
Yep. Light aged.
What is it?
Light aged.
Light aged.
Okay.
So I said natural stain, but this is a light age. So this is new to me. Can you explain to me what light aged means? Or explain to everybody that's watching.
Basically, the stain I use for the age is called a cocoa bean, or Joko bean.
Joko.
Yeah. And I sent the wife to pick up stain, and she got cocoa bean in a new water-based, non-smell, non-flammable, super awesome. It's got a low odor, but it takes forever to dry.
Mm.
Here's the kind of the difference. This is the
Farland's
first
saying
thing I
that.
did with the Dark Age. And it's
Okay, so
2018, so it's old. This is what it looks like when it ages.
okay.
This
Farland
is
is saying, Matt, you got to sell your wood on OnlyFans.
I tried to get an OnlyFans. They wouldn't let me. They denied me 3 times.
You got to try again, because you know them suckers over there be fooling around with their platform here lately. But so the natural so tell me again. So sorry, the first one from 2018. That's a what's that
Aged.
one? Aged stain, and then the one that you just did on this last full moon, comparatively light aged, totally different material that you're using, right?
Yep. And then this is the regular aged.
But you're still doing all of this of the varieties. Am I correct?
Yeah. I offer, well, I'm thinking about offering the light aged on the website when I come back.
Okay. So if anybody that's watching right now wants the 7 to 8 inch light aged Odin piece, I want you guys to reach out to Matt on Facebook, Odin's Beard Woodworking. He's also here on Facebook or on YouTube. Obviously,
I'm on YouTube too.
I mean, he's streaming here right now.
Twitter, Instagram. I'm everywhere.
Yeah, Twitter, Instagram, Odin's Beard Woodworking. Hit him up. Like, get this Odin piece that you're, offering here. Get him out to somebody because he's beautiful. He's phenomenal. I love the aesthetic. I love the style. I love that kind of light aged view or light aged style, whatever you want to call it. Definitely awesome.
On the last.
Thank you for all the likes, by the way, on the video. I said smash that like button, not to take away from the importance of this video, which is, Matt's handiwork. But thank you for all the likes. Please share the video, subscribe, the bit. Anyway, go ahead, Matt.
Last time we were live, last Friday, I made a bunch of rune pendants.
Yes.
So they're finally done and dried up and in necklace form.
And those rune pendants are crafted. They are so the last I understood, right? They're carved and they are burned and they are finished or sealed with beeswax. Am I right?
Yes, indeed.
So yes. So Matt's got some runic necklaces, pendants. I actually still have one of them available. I have a Soulu rune pendant, which has yet to be acquired.
Yeah.
So Matt's got what he's showing right now. Please take advantage of that. Hey, Matt, guess what? Guess what, people? We've got a guest that's about to join the live stream. A very cool guest. I think, Matt, you'll recognize who we have coming on here in just a minute.
Epic level wizard.
You know who that is? You know who that is, man, do you? Yeah. Oh man.
Oh, he's got a shirt on.
Man. What's up there, my dude?
Nothing much, brother. How about you?
All right. I'm all right. So for everybody that's watching right now, please introduce yourself. I will do you as much justice as I possibly can. This is David Vasquez.
Vasquez, you got it right the first time.
Vasquez. And this gentleman here has been working collaboratively with Matt Petrie at Odin's Beard Woodworking to provide you, right, the consumer, with beautiful poems and verbiage across a lot of different things. So a lot of the poems that Matt shares have come from David here. So David, if you won't mind, just tell everybody that's listening, watching, just who you are and what you do.
Well, me and Matt's been friends for, man, I don't know, 20 plus years so far.
Yeah.
20 plus years, man.
Yep.
That's incredible.
We went, I think, fifth grade, sixth grade, something like that was
Yeah,
when we first
fourth,
started.
fifth.
Yeah, when we first talked to each other. Uh,
Yeah.
After that, I am a veteran. I am a writer, poet, and an independent game developer. I'm also obviously Heathen.
Yeah.
I am U.S. Army veteran. So uh, a lot of my inspiration came from finally getting into. I think Matt had seen me post a picture or something, and he had seen like I had a hammer that was handmade for me when I was in Afghanistan. And he was like, "Oh, I didn't know you were, heathen. I didn't know you were in that." I was like, "Yeah, have been for most of my life." Just kind of kept to myself though, more of the solo type,
Like a solitary practitioner kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of thing. But for
Patrick Walsh says you're a damn fine mead maker too. What do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. I actually just started brewing mead last year. I started with a Mountain Dew 2 liter. And yeah, I started with an empty 2 liter of Mountain Dew and a bottle of honey and some water, and that was it. And I made a very, very sweet mead that came from that. But I did some more studying and research over the last year, and a lot of failed brews as well, where it's been bad.
Yeah.
But
it's a science. Am I right? Like the whole brewing meadery.
Yeah, it can
endeavor.
be if you're trying to do. There are some people who's got. It's probably the easier of the brewing. I'm not gonna sit here and say that I'm like I could brew whiskey or
well, whiskey is like that's a whole that's distillery.
That's a whole other ball game. Or like
yeah.
Beer making is a completely separate thing.
Yeah.
Mead is you put it in a bottle or a jar or however, big vats, and you let it sit. Basically it's
simplistic in a way.
It's very simplistic, but also if you mess something up, you will know. You'll get the honey vinegar, and that is not.
Ooh, honey vinegar. Patrick Walsh says you gotta quote do, which he says he says you gotta do the math, but he puts do as DEW as Mountain Dew. You got to do that. There's some science involved to it. I know a very good friend of mine, actually a brother of mine, is also a mead brewer, a mead maker, and he's been kind of trying to hone his craft over the years. And quite honestly, it's been interesting to hear his journey, because he talks about the challenges and the differences between using like local honey versus like commercial honey, and distilled water versus spring water, or all these various things. It's like it seems simplistic because it's like basically just 3 ingredients: water, yeast, and honey. But the added layers and kind of like fine tuning your craft it's like alchemy in a way. Like is that accurate to say?
I would agree. Especially with when it comes to like adding the different herbs and spices and things that you can do with it. Like I actually I went out on a limb and I brewed some blueberry mead. Ooh. And kind of added some cinnamon and
talking my language.
I added once it was done fermenting. Like I let it ferment for about a month and a half, 2 months for the first stage. And then what I do is normally how I figured out that I like to do is I like to put up a sort of a second stage, but then it's only for about 2 weeks, and then I cold crash everything, and that's given me the taste that I like, that I prefer.
When you say cold crash, what does that
Just basically put it in the fridge and kill off the
Oh,
yeast.
okay. All right.
Yeah,
So you got to
yeah,
refrigerate it and get it below a certain temperature
yeah.
to
Basically,
stop the.
stop the fermentation.
Oh, interesting. And
And
how long? How far down into that? Like, so you bought like
so
after is. Go ahead. Sorry.
my main, you're fine. My main process is at least what I did is I usually I've got like these big gallon jugs that I buy, like this organic apple juice from
Hmm.
Kroger, and that's what I
Hmm.
use. Well, for the bottling anyway, I usually just keep for the initial fermentation, the first stage is I'll have a gallon water jug and I'll pour some of that out into a sterilized container so that the water doesn't get contaminated with anything.
Okay.
Um, then I add the honey into that, shake it up real good, get it good and mixed, and then pour honey and fill up that, or pour the water back in to the gallon until it's probably about 4/5 of the way full. And then I add in a packet of yeast. And a lot of people,
Oh.
especially the more high end brewers, are going to hate me for this, but I use baker's yeast. I use Fleischmann's. And
Hmm.
to that's I prefer that. It does create a very loose, what's called lease at the bottom, but
Like that sediment.
yeah, essentially, it's basically just like the dead yeast cells that build up
Yeah.
on the bottom as the fermentation takes place. And I don't mind to lose that little bit. It's for me. If you're trying to sell, if you're trying to, don't use baker's yeast. Don't. If you're trying to start a business of your mead, you need that because you're going to get. It'll still be a little cloudy. No matter what you
Right.
do, it's always going to be a little bit cloudy if you're using a very loose yeast like that. Um, but I've digressed off my point. Uh, then
So
what I do.
yeah. So go ahead. Sorry.
Uh, then what I do is I let that sit for between a month and a half to 2 months usually, and I keep that in a very cool, dark place. Like most of the time, it's under my sink, and that just sits there. And I use that to get that going. Then once that's done, I'll put it in. I'll filter it into a bottle, the glass bottles, for the second part, and then I
Okay.
will uh, add any more honey and any spices that I want into it. And after that, I let that go for about 2 weeks. And then what I do is I will filter it again and get the rest of that lease out
Oh
and
wow.
then drop it in the fridge for another 2 weeks. And then it's ready for me to sample and drink and see if that's. So I've got about 4 gallons in my fridge right now that is all different flavors. And they've all been in there for a good 3-4 months
So
now.
the only time that you particularly start to imbibe flavors to your mead, like you'll utilize just the basic, ingredients, the water, the honey, and the yeast to start the fermentation process, and then after several months is when you'll siphon it off. You'll rack it, I guess is the
Yeah,
term,
yeah,
and
racking.
then at that point is when you'll start to imbibe flavors, fruits, spices, and that sort of thing. After you've done that initial like filtering off of things, is that
You can do that. I did that with again, I did that with my blackberry mead. I actually added the blackberries a little bit later.
blackberries?
Um,
Cool. Real quick
uh,
before you go
yeah.
on, I just want to acknowledge hello to Wyatt Coverdale, Roger G. Carvings are cool. What's up, Wyatt? You haven't missed a whole lot.
Let's see.
Salamantha says so good.
I think that's my
I
girlfriend. You better
I
not be drinking it.
look, I'm listening to the description of things, and from the person who I know that brews mead and that does their own mead brewing, they're like, dabbling a bit into it. But this is all really informative, and really helpful, I think. So if you guys are liking the stream, if you guys are enjoying it, please don't forget, smash
Add
that
your
like
channel,
button,
David.
share it around. We've got David Vasquez and Matt Petrie. Now, these two guys who are joining the live stream with me today are actually friends from the last couple of decades. I wanted to kind of tap into a little bit. Thank you, David. First of all, let me just back up because you've been sharing so much great information. Let me just
Yeah.
back up and say, first of all, thank you for your service, because David's a what branch of the military do you serve in? Is it U.S. Army?
Army. Yeah.
Yeah. So David is a U.S. Army veteran who has served in the capacity in that military branch. So thank you for your service. And David has collaborated with Matt Petrie at Odin's Woodworking with poems and things. So David here is brewing. What's that?
He helped me start the business.
So okay, so here's a new layer that I've yet to learn about. David is the reason why Odin's Beard Woodworking is here. Is that what I'm hearing in a way?
Pretty much.
Quite literally, to be honest.
All right. Well, I'm going to shut up, and I want to hear some more of that before I say what I'm going to say, because that's news to me, and I think that's news to a lot of us here. Please explain or expound on that, because I would love to hear. And I think everybody else would.
Oh, you guys want to see my face, or my hands okay?
Well, Matt's carving like he do. You know, like Matt's the carving mastermind. He's doing broggy over here. So David, if you want to between the two of you just talking, like how did that happen? How did the Odin's Beard Woodworking thing, like how did that collaboration just add to that, I guess?
I carved a rune set.
Yeah, he had carved. I actually still have the very first rune set Matt ever carved.
You do?
Yes.
Dude, that is so special.
I have the first rune set he ever carved.
Is it accessible right now? Would you mind showing it, or is it?
It's put
it's
up.
Not okay.
It's put away.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
I do actually have. I've got another one. It's over here. I've got tons of boxes of stuff I need to unpack still from where I moved, but he made that, and then we were discussing some things, and he was looking at, I think he was looking on Pinterest at the time.
No, somebody had sent me like a pocket altar type thing.
Yeah,
with a giant pin and a wax figure and a poem, and I was like, hey, can you help me with this?
He carved up, I think the first one you carved was a tear for me, wasn't it?
Maybe.
I don't remember 100%.
Wow.
But he carved one up, the very first figure, and he was kind of skittish about it. And I was like, it's your first figure. But he posted it up, and I got him to post a picture of it. And then people were like, hey, could you carve me one? And we started talking like, I've still got that shirt. If it wasn't in the wash, I would get it with that picture.
That piece right there, Matt, that you just showed. Can you who's that? What's the representation of that figure that you just shared? It was like I couldn't tell. Was it an Odin piece, or does anybody recognize that?
That was the original. That's actually the figure that's used in the original Odin's Beard Woodworking logo.
Wow!
Like if you look, that's it.
Wow!
And people started hitting him up. Hey, could you carve me one? And so he was like, I tossed him the idea, like, why don't we do? I'm trying to get my writing out there and practice writing poetry and things. How about I write something up for you, and you can make this guy this pocket altar that you got that link for.
Matt will hopefully be back here in just a moment. You guys just go ahead, David. Yeah, you're good.
He said, again, he was kind of skittish about it, but I pushed him to finally do it, and that's, the rest is history from there. He just, the more he carved for people, and the more he got better, and you see the skill he's got today is obviously 100 times better than when he first started. And that's something that I kept telling him, like, you're always getting better, dude. Like, just keep your head in the game. Don't.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's like you're gonna constantly, if you keep at it, right? Like, you're gonna just your skills will I don't know, like,
grow.
yeah, exactly. Like, they'll grow.
It's just like a carving. You chip away at chip away each layer of that hard material until finally you get something beautiful. And that's
I've loved to see. I have enjoyed, and I love to see the progression of Matt's skill over the years, because and I think it's great. Like, this is like the plot thickens. Like, I think it's your girlfriend, Salamantha, if I'm saying it right.
Matt said
saying
in the chat his internet died.
Yeah, the internet died. So we're gonna just kind of keep rolling with things. We're gonna keep rolling with it. Matt will be back when and as he's able to, but David's here, and the connection that you guys have had, I think, is really significant. And I would like to maybe talk about that in front of our viewers and our listeners and our watchers right now. Is that your focus, David, has been on the written word, right? Like, you're a poet. You've also served in a military branch, which I find very interesting, correlating to the significance of the gods and that sort of thing, because so much of the Norse and Germanic gods are focused on the warband cult or the warrior cult. And as a service member, you are, you're back into the civilian sector. You are, living in civilian aspects of things. But I guess what I would like to know is, was any part of your interest in poetry and interest in weaving words, did it exist for you while you were serving in your capacity in the military?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Did it really?
I've always kind of been a bit of a writer, even as a kid. When I was younger, we would write, at school, they'd be like, write a short story about something you're interested in. And I would show up with a 12 to 15 page story. And they're like, why did you do this? And we had I do recall my favorite writing that I ever did was actually an epic about a dragon slayer. And it was more about, not so much kind of based on the idea of like Beowulf, but not so much the liar aspect of it, where he's making up these stories and then he has to prove it, essentially. Where it's more about, it was more about a dragon. And I remember we were supposed to write just like a poem, just a simple poem. We were studying poetry in high school, and then we would have to get up and read it in front of the class. And I remember standing up and reading this like 40 to 50 stanza long epic poem about a dude fighting a dragon. And everybody was just like, oh, my various gods, stop.
This reminds me a little bit of myself in a way. What's up? Welcome back, Matt.
Hey, it's working.
Yay, we're working. We're back online with Matt Petrie. So hail and welcome back. But so, like, before Matt dropped, or during the time when Matt dropped, he made a comment in the chat of warrior poet. And David, listening to you describe what you've delivered in your younger years about these long stories and stuff like that, it reminds me a little bit of myself when in the sense, or in comparison, that I was not so much a performer or a face to things, but I was the orator in my very young years. For instance, I was the only person in my like young, like kindergarten, first grade, elementary school years that could read and write enough to narrate a play that was being orchestrated by our like school, right? So all of the kids that were playing their roles and that were performing in their roles were the performers, but there was no child at that time that could orate and dictate the story. So I relate to it in a certain way, and it's very interesting. I think Patrick even mentioned it here in the live chat. Any inspiration from Bragi? Because Matt started carving a Bragi before you got here, and I actually just did a recent video on my deity discussion series about Bragi and about the whole warrior poet dynamic and how it fits into the the ancient heathen approach to things, and that the skalds, the bards, the storytellers were so highly esteemed at the time that it was like it didn't matter if you were skillful with a sword or that you could kill all these people, because in the lore, right, Bragi is kind of a bitch. Like he doesn't do a whole lot from like the warrior aspect, from like the Idun gets captured, who for those that don't know, like Idun is Bragi's wife, and like Idun has all this stuff happen to him, and Bragi's kind of like the silent, like non-participant. And even in Lokasena, right, Loki calls him out on his cowardice or whatever, but he is still highly esteemed and well regarded amongst the Aesir, which are warrior gods. And so I think the warrior poet role, the fact that, you had this inspiration prior to your service in a military branch, you served in your military branch and you carried on that, you continued that, sort of role, I love the fact that your poetry has been incorporated into Matt's projects and Matt's work. Like so many of the things that Matt offers in terms of handiwork and craftsmanship includes your spoken words, your in the form of written format, like the poems, the god poles, and things like that have been incorporated into so much of his handiwork, and I love that. I think it's ideal.
David has a book coming out.
I do.
Talk about that. I'm going to shut up right now because I just blabbered on about the awesomeness of that sort of thing.
Well, before that, I wanted to address a couple things. We were talking about any inspiration from Bragi, and then right before that, somebody had commented. Wyatt Coverdale said, "Isn't it funny how the U.S. military allows heathens to keep their beards and hair?" And this goes back to again being from being before I was in the Army and after, and still being a writer. I wish I had known that I was a heathen at that point. I wish I had known the gods that I believed in. And what was that?
The beard thing in the Army.
It is very recent. It is. I think it's good. I do like it. Again, I think it should be. I'm not even going to touch on that. That's a whole other topic. But
hey, we can touch on it, man. We're here to dabble around heathen chat type stuff. But you do you.
I wish I had known what pantheon, I guess, is the best way that I was connected to at the time. A lot of people's stories is they were raised Southern Baptist and they did, they were brought up to be Christians and that kind of thing. I don't have that kind of story. I when I was growing up, we didn't go to church. We didn't do anything. I was taken occasionally, but I never really believed any of the Christian ideology and Christian mythology, and it just wasn't a part of my life as much as my mom probably wishes it was at this point, because now she's married to a preacher and he's a great dude. He's not crazed hellfire and brimstone type, but he's a good person. I'm not talking anything about that, but she probably wishes now more that I was brought up in that type of thing, but I don't think I'd be the person I am today if I was. That's something that I always think about, and I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
That I was brought up to be more worldly, and I was exposed to paganism at a very young age. Like 8 years old, I picked up Scott Cunningham's guide for the solitary practitioner. And I was, like, this stuff makes sense to me, like there's not just one, that this stuff, reading this made sense. And I wasn't really a practicing Wiccan. I was just kind of more intrigued by the idea of, multiple gods. And then, so the only exposure to Norse mythology of any kind was Marvel at the time for me.
D&D.
Thor and D&D as well, but
Forgotten Realms, those runes. I remember having a conversation with you at the table about this one's wrong, this one's wrong. The real one is this and this and this.
Yeah, the Dwarven runes and the Forgotten Realms.
Oh man, I've actually got a rune set of the Kirith runes, or the Khuzdul runes.
Awesome.
I have a whole box of
awesome.
Khuzdul runes that I have yet to complete. That I'm going to probably offer up for sale as like an auction base or whatever. Like, let's see what you want. But it's I mean, because it's like 30 something, 40 something different runic things which are inspired from Anglo-Saxon and Norse, whether it's Ynglinga or Anglo-Saxon runes, but like so much of that is inspired from the Kirith runes. That because dual language. I have a whole box, dude. I had awesome. I'm gonna pull it real quick while you talk about it, but it's
well, you go to work on them. We should go live and I'll carve like a Gandalf or an orc or something.
That'd be cool. But from there it took a while, but I finally I was in the army for about a year before I actually found Norse mythology and heathenism and all that. And I'd actually been doing some genealogy, and a lot of people, he's gonna say he's related to Ragnar. No. I just traced my roots back to Spain, and I found out that I have history
Vasquez.
with I traced my lineage back to Spain, to Bosco, or however it's said in Latin. And it's from one of the Sueve tribes, or Suevi or whatever, from the early Germanics that eventually were conquered by the Visigoths. And that is where my lineage is, about as far back as I can get. But so then I was like, okay, so that's why I've always felt so disconnected from everything that's, that I thought,
I did just want to start. I don't want to interrupt, but I just want to acknowledge some folks that are joining. So hello, Martin T says good evening. Ryan Orion 14, Norse Magic Beliefs, talking about, this is not an Odinist podcast. This is not an Odinist platform. As a matter of fact, I denounce Midgard Musings. I'm going to say Midgard Musings. I've got guests here. I've got David Vasquez and I've got Matt from Odin's Beard Woodworking. I do not validate. So anything with Odinist, I pretty much steer away from, because Odinism is not heathenry, and I just want to go on the record as that. But thank you for joining the live stream. So, not to interrupt. Sorry, David.
No, you're fine.
But I just
That's
want to
really
acknowledge
about
everybody.
the-
That's yeah.
That's really about the end of that's.
And I
that
find
part
it
of
I find it interesting, right? Because like so much of people that come into this path, that come into this sort of paganism, right? Paganism is an umbrella term.
Mhm.
It encompasses so many different things,
So
right?
many. It could even
And
Hinduism would be considered pagan if you were
exactly. And heathenry, right? Heathenry, Germanic heathenry is very niche. It's very specific to a region. It's very specific to the regional demographics. Hail and welcome, Troy Hartman, and Ryan Orion 14 is this. So you're also true. I may indulge your question with a response here in just a moment, but let me just say this. The the whole
Also true is just
the
No.
whole
forgetting people.
the whole like tying to heritage, the whole tying to ancestry thing is like, check this out. Guess what? You can venerate and honor the Norse gods, the Germanic gods, without having any specific ancestry tied to it. The reason why people get bent and hurt and butt hurt about that is because you're uber folkish. You're folkish as an underlying term, right? If you think that you have any sort of claim to venerating the gods due to your ancestral heritage, you're folkish, which is wrong. That's just a fancy term for racism.
Agreed.
Okay. Because guess what? There's nothing about my bloodline, about my heritage. Here's why I say that. I was asked today what my race is, and I saw the options of African American. I saw the options of Asian. I saw the options of Hispanic, Latin, and I saw the options of various things. And then I saw the option of white. What the hell is the white race? Guess what? Here's your answer. There ain't no such damn thing. There's no such damn thing as the white race. And if you think otherwise, you can get off this platform, because I'm not going to entertain that sort of ridiculous bigotry. There's no such freaking thing as the white race, my friends. Okay. Yes, you can be of Asian descent. You can be of African descent. You can be of Latin descent. There is no such thing as the white race. So to be asked that in modern times is actually quite telling of the times that we're in. But we kind of derailed a little bit off of that when Ryan Orion asked, "Oh, so you're also true?" Also true is a umbrella term. First of all, So also true is kind of like a term that's used to describe Germanic, Norse, either, but you're not even encompassing all of the things when you say also true. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, like let's say also true gets bumped into an umbrella term under paganism. Like, oh, also true is Norse paganism. Well, are you Germanic pagan? Are you, are you mainland Germanic pagan, or are you Scandinavian? Are you one of the, Iceland, Norway? Let me say, like, are you one of those pagans? Because Germanic paganism does tend to get just lumped into an overall umbrella term. Oh, Odin, Wodan, Wotan, this thing, that, and the other, right? Also true in modern times, because of certain organizations and because of certain cliques, gets categorized as like Wicca with a Norse aesthetic. And I'll shut up for just a minute because I've ranted on a little bit about that whole thing. But
Do witchcraft, and I am not a Wiccan.
But it's interesting because, like, David talked about his introduction into paganism was a bit eclectic, or a bit like there was no specific path of, and I don't want to put words into your mouth, David, but like it was like you found your home amongst the Germanic gods.
Yeah.
But paganism, as an umbrella term, was something that you've been exposed to in your early years, right?
Exactly. It's kind of always been there for me. And to touch on the whole folkism thing, that's been a big thing. I think I think one of the first interactions you and I had was over, I forget what her name was already, but the whole spiel of her going on saying Hispanic people they can't worship Norse gods. They can't be
Who the hell is
with
saying that they can't do it? Is what I'm
Yeah.
asking.
Ivy Mulligan.
Ivy Mulligan, yes. Yes, sorry to
That
bring
one.
that lady back up, but I think that was mine and Jesse's first interaction was during that debacle. And I always, again, I want to point out, so a lot of people forget, like the Goths. I don't know what
Mhm.
do we just forget about that piece of history?
Did we
and
forget
just-
about that? I like Roger G's sorry, was it Roger G? Was it? I'm trying to look at the comments here. So somebody said so Ryan Orion is that they think that Norse pagan sounds like Wicked-true hippies. Let's take a look at the etymological meaning of pagan and heathen. First of all, the word heathen, so pagan, right, is kind of like an umbrella term. Heathen specifically, the heathen name was was put on a specific group of people in a certain regional demographic to describe the folk of that region who did not adhere to or did not recognize or did not acknowledge the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Christian God, the Judeo-Christian God. Heathen, etymologically speaking, has linguistic ties back to Old English, Frisian, and all other kinds of words that just mean people of the hearth, people of the heath, the country dwellers, the country folk, right? People that just kicked it in the sticks, right? If you live in the South and you listen to Brantley Gilbert, you know that song "Kick It in the Sticks," I think is the name of the song or whatever.
You're barking up the wrong tree with that one. I have no.
You know what I'm saying? Like David's here, Matt's here from Kentucky. You guys are Southern born and bred. You know what I'm saying? These
We
are
were
the
rocking
people
out
that they were
the horn.
talking about back in the day. And all of a sudden, the Christians came in, whatever they came into the, oh, you don't acknowledge the God of this, the God of that. So you were heathen became a derogatory term. So no, Norse pagan doesn't, to me, sound like Wicked-true hippie. Norse pagan to me sounds like a term that in modern times is used to describe people that are polytheistic, that choose to approach their spirituality and their religion in a polytheistic way, that focus on the Norse pantheon. Okay, we're talking about gods like Odin, Thor, Tyr, Freyr, Frigg, these sorts of figures. Regardless of the region, they are named different things. So Odin, Wotan, Woden, that sort of thing. Ryan is asking Ivy Mulligan, where is she? I don't know, and I don't care. I've already denounced that. I've already denounced that. Unfortunately, on my channel, I've had Ivy here talking about wild and crazy things, which at the point seemed interesting. And
as far as we're concerned, she's dead. That's
right. You know what? I should have. The red flag at the moment during the interview that I had her here on the channel, the red flag should have been, I venerate Loki, or some sort of comment that she made about venerating Loki. I was like, that should have been the.
Sounds like neo-pagans that have a Viking fetish. Well, that's your mistake for thinking that every Norse person was a Viking. And well, you can't be a Viking, you go Viking. So that's another.
It was a seasonal
trade.
Not even a trade. It was like
hey, we don't have enough fish. Let's go take it from that island over there.
Right. Let's go fill in the gaps. Let's go make what we need to make. right? We do what we do. They were raiders.
I think
they were raiders.
thing
It was a seasonal thing, and it's you look at the in the Caribbean, right? You look at the pirates and that sort of thing. That's what the Norse raiders were. They were pirates.
Just medieval pirates. And
yep.
That's another to me. The whole Viking shtick is kind of like with the anime fans and their katana fetish. Like, it's the same concept to me. That's what it seems like. A Viking versus this could do this. No, calm down.
No, I like the fact that you bring that into it, because that is another cultural thing that has been romanticized in pop culture, right? So the samurai was and were a very elite group of people that existed in the Japanese warrior cults, right? So the samurai, the katanas, the weapons. Like I did some studies years and years ago about that whole thing when it came to like the various cultures and things, like ritualistic suicide, like head of kitty, right? Don't want to get like deep into that sort of thing, but like the rules that they lived by, right? When a sword was to be drawn, how a sword was to be drawn, where a sword was to be placed, the weapon placement, that sort of thing. It's been romanticized in pop culture, but it's not a reflection on the reality of what it was. It's just the pop culture version of it, right? Same way with like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the Vikings TV show. Like I went into the post office today and I'm wearing this, I'm wearing my Thor's hammer, and the person in front of me that was tending to me, the post office worker, and what their appropriate title is, I'm not quite sure. They saw it and they're like, oh, is that the Viking jewelry that I've seen advertised? And I was like, yeah, probably, and he's like, yeah, well, do you like the TV show Vikings? Do you like Vikings? I'm like, I enjoy it, yes. But just to be clear, I'm like, this symbol, I am a practicing pagan. Like, this is more than just that. It's more than just what you see on TV. And he's like, oh, huh. And I live in Tennessee, dude. Like, when you talk about like the Bible Belt, like, you're in Kentucky, Matt's from Kentucky, like I'm in Tennessee, I'm not even from this damn state. When you talk about the Bible Belt, right? Like, this is the freaking buckle.
Oh yeah.
Of the Bible Belt. And when you talk about pagan anything, they look at you like, oh, what?
You're evil. That's
like by default.
Family tell me that I was gonna get possessed by the devil or a demon. And I was like, yo, that's what this spell does.
I saw your post about that, Matt, and I was like trying to like understand like what is that even about? Because when you talk about like devils, possession, demons, or whatever, like that's a totally different understanding of spirituality. Like
I posted my salt bowl and my little protection charm thing that I made.
Yeah. What's up?
I got attacked by family.
Ryan O'Ryan says that they refuse to watch the TV Vikings. It's insult to our ancestors. It's Hollywood, dude.
It's very Hollywood.
Entertainment. It's meant to be entertaining.
I didn't watch past season. I think I've got season 3 on DVD, and I don't think I've finished it. But I remember I stopped watching because I got into they were doing a live Q&A with the producers of the show. And I was like, are you going to be, how close are you going to be sticking to the legends of, Ragnar and all of them? How
Yeah.
historically are you going to touch on maybe this Ragnar didn't actually exist? Are you going to be touching on maybe he's multiple characters and figures through history? Is that what you're going to do? And they were like, no, this is going to be, this is how it is, what you've seen so far. And it's just, we're going to deviate, obviously, because it's for entertainment. It's not meant to teach. It's a story.
Yeah.
And so I enjoy the characters. I really liked Athelstan. I really liked Floki, and I liked Rollo for what he was worth. And for what he was worth, I want to point that out.
Yeah.
But again, I know it's not the same. It's not
historical.
Not
Thank you, Ryan. Yeah.
At all. Like it's even
not
close.
Right. It's meant to capture the attention and of audiences and just
tell the story
for that. Right.
In a modern, digestible way. Because frankly, if you've ever read the Eddas, and if you've ever sat down, even if you've read the Poetic Edda, cool. If you've ever read the Prose Edda, boring as fuck. I don't care what anybody says. It's boring.
The Prose Edda is like, well, so the Poetic Edda, right? Like the poems contain the Poetic Edda. David, you're a writer.
Yeah.
Like the Poetic Edda is like a compilation of the best of poems. The Prose Edda is Snorri's attempt to,
layman's terms,
like capture all of the stories in a a chronological series of events in a prose fashion. Like, oh, there's this, and then he adds his he adds his influence, which we got to look at Snorri Sturluson as a secondary source because of the fact that he's
Christian 13th century, 11th century Christian scribe.
Yeah, like he came from that, but he was also transcribing things of lore, of mythology into formats that were a bit more digestible for the Christian audience at the time. So there's, as a secondary source, like, yes, he's documenting things down, but he was also heavily influenced by the fact of Christianity being the predominant religion at the time. You got to think about the fact that Christianity became the dominant religion of the regions under penalty of death, right? Or at the very least, outlawry, right? Like you could be outlawed for not adhering to those things. You look at the saga of Håkon the Good, and you see that Håkon was the Norwegian king that united the nations under Christianity, and he was even a bit kind of dodgy when it came to his methods. You read about how the fact that he would partake in these pagan rituals, these pagan sacrifices, but was making the sign of the hammer, which could arguably be the sign of the cross, and all these sorts of things, right? So you gotta take the things that are put out on TV and in pop culture as exactly what they are. There are very, very few video, like there's very few like pop culture things. Like the one thing that I like to go back to is like in terms of historical value. Like if you want to like watch anything that means a lot with history, is The Last Kingdom.
Yeah.
That actually has a lot more historical focus put on it than Vikings did. And then if you really want to get past that and you want to like learn a thing or two through like a video or a movie or whatever, like watch Barbarians.
That is something
watch Barbarians.
I've
Barbarians,
so many
man,
good
because
things about that, and I haven't watched it yet.
Oh my goodness! Like I want to almost like stream
on?
a viewing of that, because Barbarians is
Can't we do that in a room on Facebook? We can do
I mean, can we
we can
do it?
like watch parties.
We could probably do anything. You know how it's how the social media overlords and how the algorithm hits it or whatever is another thing.
No, if
But
we're in a group, it won't matter.
yeah,
If it wasn't for
Because if you're in
that's some
race and we do like a room, they have it set up so that you can actually do watch parties.
Roger G says for most in the U.S., if it wasn't for pop culture, you'd have no culture at all, and I can't disagree.
Yeah.
the U.S. the culture that we have in the U.S. is so, it's a melting pot of culture. Like, what culture are you even talking about? For the most part, if it wasn't for the pop
Like when
culture,
all the gods
that's
sit in a
not.
pot.
I hate when people say that's not American culture. It's like there is no American culture.
there's not. There's not.
There's not one. All right, what are you talking about? Cheeseburgers?
Apple pie.
Fried
apple
food.
pie.
Like I don't
pies.
even.
Hail and welcome, Thunder Horse. Just real quick, but yeah. We are an amalgamation. The word I'm trying to find. It's like we've adopted so many different cultures from other countries as our own. Like, what is even our culture as Americans? What is it? It's a little bit of this and it's a little bit of that because of the influence.
To me, that's what's so great about living in the U.S. or really just any sovereign nation that allows you to have your own belief system, that allows you to have your own religion, your own values in your family.
Your own way of life.
Big, and of course, I'm not ignorant enough to think that America is the only place that allows that. Obviously, not guns and whiskey. I accept that, but that's neither here nor there. But again, that's something I know quite a few people from overseas that would love guns and whiskey just as much as we do,
and they don't have it,
and
because of their, political structures and their government structures. And it's like, at what point do we as heathens respect that and understand that that's the society that we live in, but also adopt the tribal approach to things? Because you can have like subcultures within a culture, you know what I mean? Like look at the Native Americans, as it were. Like, you've got the Sioux, you've got the Navajo, you've got the Algonquin, you've got the Cherokee, you've got all these various, quote, Native American cultures, Native American tribes that have their individual cultural identity established, because they are, quote, they are quite literally the Native Americans. The European influence, the European insertion, that was
it happens.
I mean, it happened, and it was. I mean, that was genocide. That was genocide when it happened. I mean, you literally just rolled into place. I don't like the fact that I'm living over here, being told what I want to do, so I'm going to go over here and tell other people what I want them to do. Like,
yeah,
it's just.
I mean,
gentrification.
I always point out, though, name a society that was ever built on anything less than war and destruction.
Dinosaurs.
Well, that's not a society. That's the animals.
Hey, you don't know that.
We don't.
Of course, true. We don't. But I'm not. I'm not justifying it. I definitely agree that it's terrible and should never have happened. But
it's animism.
You don't know they were animals.
The law of the jungle, man. Read the freaking, the Jungle Book? What is the law of the jungle? Like, I can't even remember the author. David, you might, as a poet and as a writer, you might remember, like, but the law of the jungle is very explicit,
Mhm.
you know. But I don't know. I feel like it's like so much of trying to control versus trying to um, build and trying to um,
Expand.
expand. Yeah, expand and
It's
actually just build up. You know what I
it's
mean? Like,
conquest is really, and that's something that Americans need to, just as a country, the U.S. itself just needs to admit it. That's what it was. It was conquest. Um, they came in, said, "Hey, we're going to build here. You can join us or you can die," and that was literally the options.
it's genocide, man.
And it was conquest, genocide, and you just
But
can't.
so how do we get past that now in modern times, right? How do we get past that? Like, this is a conversation that could expand and become really just diabolical. Like, people have their own political views, and that's not what Midgard Musings is about. Like, it's not about pushing a political agenda. It's like, well, how do we exist in modern times? Heathens in modern times, you know? Rudyard Kipling, thank you. Roger G, like he mentioned the author. Yeah, Rudyard Kipling.
Rudyard Kipling.
Yeah, fantastic. The Law of the Jungle. But like, it's the way that heathenry to me thrives, and the way that heathenry is designed to be just as best as it could possibly be is at the tribal level. It's not universal, global approaches to things. It's not like, oh well, this is the entire worldview of the thing. This is very it's tribal centric. It's not religiocentric. It's because religion ultimately goes back to core values that transcend religion. Like, all religions go back to just some very basic, deeper core values. I don't care what part of the world you're from. I don't care if it's, Northern Europe or Southeast Asia or wherever the hell you want to, claim it as, right? There's core values that mean something to the development of a people, that means something to the development of a culture. And for heathenry specifically, like for Germanic heathenry, it's at the tribal level. So Thu, law, order, things that just for that specific tribe in that specific region work and benefit the development of that tribe. So for those of us in, the Southeast, or for those of you in the Northeast, or for those of you in the Pacific Northwest in the United States, I'm just talking about in our continent, you know what I mean? Like the Southwest, these sorts of things. That's up to you and yours to understand and develop your tribal Thu, customs, laws, traditions, and laws, customs, traditions. I can't think of another word. Frith. Ryan Orion is his Frith. Frith is expands to things beyond custom. Frith has to do with trust and obligation amongst each other. You cannot have Frith. You cannot establish Frith truly without the people intimately tied to you, right? There's no way to understand and establish Frith online. There's not. You can have Grith, which is like this overall like ceasefire, peace stead, a Grithstead, that sort of thing. Like there's that, like kind of how in the Icelandic all thing, right? When varying tribes would assemble for the all thing, you had a Grithstead established. It was like a ceasefire. Like nobody was going to kill each other, whatever, Frith is established at the tribal level in a more consecrated or more isolated way. Like, I have not established Frith with anyone except for those who I've personally dealt with in like real face time. Nothing online encompasses Frith for me. Because Frith is like kind of one of those things where you're like, you know, I need you at 3:00 in the morning, and you are obligated to me, and I'm obligated to you. If I need you and you need me, like, we understand those things, and we are bound through that Frith web. So it's not anything that can be established tangibly through extended online connections. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Definitely.
That's the way I see it, at least when it comes to like Frith, like Ryan was saying.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I've struggled with myself, is not having that. I think I'll point it up. I was responding to something. I don't know if you know of Ocean Keltoy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Man, Ocean's
Ocean
content phenomenal.
Ocean is the
what
man.
does. Ocean
I've
and Wolf the Red and all those.
I actually just found Wolf today again during this very same interaction. But we were talking. I didn't know that people, shamed each other for worshiping death gods. Like, I did not know that was a thing. I did not know that there was a whole, your God is different than mine. I don't like you. Like, fucking what? Like, I don't
say death gods. What do you mean?
Any god that, I think the way he described it, for him, I'm trying not to put words in his mouth, but he said something to the extent of any god that held domain over death. So like realistically, he pointed out, he was like, you should probably reevaluate your ideas on Odin and Freyr and Njordr. And it was just kind of went on the list, was kind of like, yeah, just kind of, but that whole thing was, for me, it was kind of like, I didn't know that was even a thing. Like, that was an issue.
So I think it's important to understand, the context in which those sorts of things are being shared and understood. Like, so Ocean and that, like, Ocean is a Reconstructionist.
Oh yeah.
The death cult observance of the gods, like Odin specifically, like, you want to talk about like your veneration to Odin. Like, I've even challenged heathens here myself on my various platforms to really like rethink your adoration of a god such as, we'll use for example Odin, because and I think the reason why I brought it up and the reason why I talk about it is because he's so diabolical, and he's not the big sky daddy that people like to try to attest him to.
Yeah, that is
from other religious baggage. And this is no slight, and this is no degrade. Like, I'm not trying to like degrade anybody that's coming into this religion or coming into this path to observe and to venerate a certain god. It's like the gods are complex, and they are not omnipotent, and they are not just all
the concept
they make mistakes. The heathen gods do make mistakes, and the myth aspect of the gods is not a part of the religious aspect of the gods. And that is, if you get into the hardcore roots of heathenry, it's like the myth is separate from the religion. The myth exists in a certain way and for a certain reason, but the religious aspects of the gods, like, the gods are the gods, and they exist in sacred space and time, and to connect with them in a certain way, it's like there has to be a certain kind of approach and a format. So I think that when it comes to understanding the complexities of the gods, whether it be Odin, like, or Thor, even, or any, like, Thor is a bit more relatable, I think, because he's a common man god, and he's been attested to as being someone that the common people connect to whereas Odin has been a god that is connected to mostly in historical texts as related to the nobility, kings, and that sort of thing, which is another whole dynamic, right? Because at one point in time, and at certain points in time, the kings, right, were more than just people. The kings were sacred. They were they were sacred. Like, look at like the correlation between the pharaohs in Egypt, how they were like gods among men, that sort of thing. Like there was a sacredness connected to them amongst the people, and their involvement among the people. Like it was a bit different than what we experience now in modern times. So this whole like adoration or admiration of Odin as this, like, the all father this, the all father that, like, yes, there's that, but he's also just quite inherently diabolical. And
I think the idea of just the concept of monotheism in general has polluted the mind, religious mind, I suppose, of most people, because it's so prevalent nowadays. What's one nation under God, the whole thing, that whole concept, especially in America. I know that's more prevalent in the U.S. than it is elsewhere, but especially in the U.S., you've got so many people are disillusioned, disenfranchised from Christianity, and they're looking for something to fill that
connect
void,
to
connect to, and they find heathenry, or they find paganism just in general, and they dive down into it, and the concept of practicing and worshiping multiple gods is just so foreign to, especially when the God is not all-knowing, all-powerful, always right, always got a plan. There's not there.
It's disingenuous.
It's disingenuous, and it's very hard to relate on that level to somebody who's not been indoctrinated in that sense.
It's like apples to oranges.
Yeah. Whereas, like, my girlfriend Samantha on here, she said she's still having trouble coming with that non-omnipotent portion coming from Southern Baptist, and that is a struggle for her. She's talked to me about that. Like, that's how do you do that? And I don't readily have an answer, because I'm not I don't relate to that. I've never had to come out of that, where I have never believed there was just one God that was all-knowing, all-powerful. That just never made sense to me.
It's a totally different approach to your worldview, because I can speak a little bit to that, because I came into heathenry, I came into paganism from a monotheistic approach. I was raised Christian. I was raised very hardcore Christian. And I mean, I've read through the Bible, 7-8 times, cover to cover, all of them, like Old Testament to New Testament, done studies, this and that, right? So when you come into a polytheistic approach to your religion, having existed and lived and viewed the world in such a specific way, right? Like, there's only one God, and there's this and there, you know what I mean? So I get it. I understand the challenge and the difficulty in, digesting or processing the fact that our pagan gods are not omnipotent, and they are not omnipresent, and there is no. And here's the interesting thing to think about too, you guys, right? In Germanic societies, when the, like, during the Viking Age, like, let's just go back to that early reference to things. Once paganism was outlawed in Scandinavia, and the Christian God, the Judeo-Christian God, however you want to define that figure, was made to be like, that's the way we believe now, right? You got to remember that some of those people adopted that figure as just an addition to their already vast array of gods and goddesses, right? So, okay, like we've got Odin, we've got Thor, we've got this, we've got that. Well, now let's just include, Yahweh or the Christian God or whatever the name of it was at the time. Like, it was just like, we're just going to tack this figure on into our existing approach to things. But the omnipotence of a God is different in that approach, because so much of the doctrine that is tied to Christianity makes the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob as being the one and only, as being like the end all be all, right? If you don't do this, it's that. It's, there are no other gods before me, that sort of thing. Well, that statement in and of itself, is there are no other gods before me, is that that's egomaniacal. If you want to get right down, there are no other gods before me. Well, are you suggesting, or are you stating the fact that there are other gods, but you're just egomaniacal in your statement by saying that there are no other gods before you, that you're trying to position yourself as being the supreme being in front of all these things? Like, look at other cultures, look at other outside of Scandinavia, outside of the European Germanic countries. Like, look at India, look at Asia, look at all these other countries that existed well before the fact that whatever scribe was commissioned to document these sort of things in Christianity was like, it's this God, that, or the other. Gods existed, and gods do exist, and they are present, and they are certainly alive and well, right? So it's just it's just the point of, or it's just the fact of bringing yourself into this, like, it's reconstructing your mindset or your worldview into, am I responsible before this singular God? Am I responsible? Are my actions damnable, or are they, is what I'm doing being viewed by this singular figure? In paganism, like, no, they're dogma, like the idea of dogma exists in heathenry, but it exists at the tribal level. It's not like the gods are going to punish you for doing this thing, that, or the other. The fact is that dogma exists at the tribal level because what you do and what you don't do is impactful to your tribe. Doesn't matter what the gods have to say or do, because the gods exist in a different space and time than what we do.
Their own shit.
They got their own stuff to deal with. They got their own platform that they're working on, right? Like, sacred space and time does not, exist for us in the same way. Like, we exist in profane space and time. We've got enough spiritual beings. We got enough things around us and that exist around us as mortals, as human beings, that we interact with on a daily basis. So, you're worried about, not necessarily worried about, but you're thinking about, or digesting about the omnipotence and the omnipresence of sacred beings. Well, do you understand and do you know about the existence and the presence, not necessarily the omnipotence or the omnipresence, but the existence and the presence of the spiritual beings that you exist with today? The Vatir, the Whites, those, your ancestors,
exactly,
those sorts of things. Like, all of those beings are more important to us now here in profane space than the gods are. And that's how these societies, that's how those people understood it. It was not like you connected to the gods at the tribal level, like communities assembled in buildings, or like, you look at like the 9-year sacrifices that took place in Uppsala, in old Uppsala, Sweden, right? The communities were obliged to commune and assemble in these places. What happened outside of that? Well, we don't know, because why? People couldn't read and write. They were illiterate. They didn't document these sort of things down. But did they not acknowledge the existence of spiritual beings in and around them? We're talking about like familial ancestors, the Disir, the Elfar, the Vatir, all these various beings that exist in profane space that are more important to us because we exist in the same realm of reality, as it were. I don't know.
And well, you can see those parallels when you're looking at various cultures, especially when you look at like how far apart, not only in distance, but just in time, that the Germanic tribes and, the Scandinavian tribes were. Like, they existed in not only different places, but different times. And you still see the parallels of the different god-like figures, the different deities, the different spirits, the different ideologies, and they connect. And that's always fascinated me. And that's something that a lot of people, I don't think they actually really look at, especially for myself, where a lot of people wonder why I go with the Norse names, Odin, Thor, Tyr, and all those, rather than try to go with what the Germanic tribes were. Well, because we know more about the Scandinavian and Norse stories than we do about the Germanic. Like, it's just, that's history. Like, that's the way it is. And it's more common as well. It's easier to find. And for myself, that's something that, as far as like studying goes, I would rather have something that's, okay, this is here, but I have this evidence that I'm able to actually see, and I can relate the two and put them together. And that is something that I think is great about what you had said, Ocean, is Reconstructionist. Just Reconstructionism as a whole, I think, is very important to both paganism and neo-paganism as a whole, because they're constantly looking for the classical, the antiquity, I guess, is the best way to put it. Like, they're looking for how things were.
Yeah, because I mean, with Reconstructionism, you look at what was done in a certain period of time. How did it work for them? How did it work for them to connect to the sacred at that time? If it worked for them at that point, does it work for us now? I'm not 100% like Reconstructionist, but I understand the approach and why it is, because but I feel that us in modern times have a very important role in building new traditions, because the traditions of then became the source that we're pulling from now, right? So what are our descendants going to look at? They're going to look at stuff that we're looking at now, and they're going to look at what we're doing now. So how are we preserving those things, and how are we looking to extend and just continue to build on those things? I was looking at one of the comments. Farland says one of the funniest things they've ever heard in a Norse group was that heathens were a dying breed and the gods would be forgotten. Pretty funny when you consider there are likely more heathens now than. There is an insurgence, right? There is a collective expansion of paganism, not just Germanic, I think, but I think due to the fact that there's things like Vikings and the Last Kingdom, those sorts of pop culture things. And even, like the fact that, the MCU and all that sort of thing, like Thor and whatnot, like it's just Thor, Loki, all these things. They're so popular nowadays. Like, so it's like that's like the heightened awareness.
I am just as happy with somebody coming in and saying, "Hey, can you help me find some sources?" I'm a big fan of Marvel. I like the Thor series. I'm interested in learning more about the mythology, as I am the guy who's gone back and traced his roots, and he's kin to Odin, and I'm just as happy to help either one of those people find sources of information. I really want to put that out there. Like it's something that I'm passionate about. Do I think that I'm pushed? Am I like out proselytizing or pushing religion into people's No, obviously.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that pop culture has popularized it. I think that's
it's kind of like, it's kind of like that red flag, like, oh, because of these things, like it like I said, it raises an interest. But like, how much are we focused on the past? Like, so I look at it in my own heathen worldview, right? Like I look at it as like, the Norns, right? You've got Skuld, Verdandi, and Shrewd. You know what I mean? Or Urd, Verdandi, and Skuld. I'm sorry. Urd, Verdandi, and Skuld. So Urd has been what was. That's already happened, and so much of the attention gets drawn. Oh, well, look what happened back then. Look at what was done. X amount of hundreds of thousands or whatever years ago to abolish beliefs or whatever. Well, that was then. That's Urd's realm. That's already happened. What has happened since then to shape where we are in the present, and what are we doing now in the present, in the Verdandi, to shape what will happen, the school, what should or will happen. That's up to us. That's up to everybody here now in our present state. So yeah, it was absolutely ridiculous and stupid and horrible or whatever what happened during the Viking Age and even prior, when Christianity was so violently imposed upon the indigenous people to shape a new, like shave away and abolish, cultural beliefs and that sort of thing. Like that's genocide. Like that's horrible. Like you're literally wiping out the cultural beliefs and traditions of a nation. That's horrible, right? Well, we're here now, and we've made it this far, and because of our ancestors' integrity, we are here. What are we doing to build on that legacy, right? Not dwelling on the past, understanding what happened, but what are we doing now to educate and build on that legacy? You know what I mean? Like I've dealt with it with my own clan, all right, like my own family, the people who I've been born from, where it's you're automatically a certain thing because of the way you believe, or because of the way you the things that you believe in the way you practice or whatever. And I'm like, well, you may think that, and you're free to think that, but in the interest of trying to educate you, right, to not be just so desensitized to doctrine, like, do you understand the history? Do you understand the backing of everything? Do you can you at least absorb that element? And then if you still want to think that way, then I guess there's nothing else that you can do.
There's nothing else you can. There's no talking to people like that,
There's not, and it's painful.
It's painful, and I've cut ties with family, a lot of family over the years.
Yes.
And does it suck? Yeah, but do I feel any regret? No. Not in the slightest.
Toxic is toxic. Blood doesn't matter.
Say that again, Matt.
Toxic is toxic. Blood doesn't matter.
And that's a tough thing. I think that a lot of heathens, myself included, have had to come to terms with, right?
Oh yeah, that's something Matt and I were talking about actually last night. He was talking about somebody had messaged him and wanting to help get his page spread and do more to help out. And one thing he said was just share the page if you can't buy anything, from the shop.
Mhm.
If you can't buy
Mhm.
anything from the shop, just share the page, And they said I'm not out yet. And to me, that's just I hate to say it, but to me that's cowardly. I guess I get it, but like if you're a kid and you're in that situation, I understand fully, But as an adult, as a person who has faced that music and has said, you know what, this is who I am. If you don't like it, you're gone, is essentially. And to me, that's the broom closet, I guess, is the common term for it is really something that to me I think it's a concept that needs to die, because
It does.
it really needs to come down to a point where we need to normalize ourselves. We need to break away from being afraid to be put on, this person is this, they're obviously a bad person, to the point where we're like, yeah, that is who I am. Does that make me a bad person? If it is in your eyes, then cool. I don't care.
Yeah, this whole like inherently bad thing or inherently evil because of the religion that you follow is ridiculous.
I think that's really something we need to step up and face, more along the lines of just,
because that is the fact, right? Like
Yeah.
that is the ugly truth of a lot of us, especially pagans, is that we are inherently evil because of what we believe, for no other reason other than the label that we have placed upon us.
And you're not going to change it by hiding. You're not going to change their minds. You're not going to their heaven anyway already, because you don't truly believe it. You're doing something beyond what their belief system says. So if they say you're believing something else other than my things, you go burn, that's where you're going. If you're staying with them, step out, come forward, hold your chest and chin high. I really think that's something I really think it's time for, as we're right here. We're like Matt right there. We're extending the hand.
Yep. And that's so much. That's so much of what I think gets lost in the mix, is that we are not the bad people. We are not the inherently evil individuals that you want to try to claim us as, because look at that. Like, look at the deeds. Look at what our ancient ancestors put value on. It was, what did you do? Your value was placed upon what you did, not what you didn't do, because if you didn't do anything, you were worth less. Inaction was sin. It was invaluable. It didn't have any worth to the tribe. You did something. If it was wrong, you learned from it. If it was good, you had, you added benefit and you added worth to your society. Action was where it was. And what action are we doing amongst our, folk who have these sort of, indifferent approaches, or they have maybe something that's so, they have a view on things that is so connected to doctrine versus fact. You know what I mean? Like, you can preach a doctrine, you can tell somebody that they're inherently wrong for something because of what doctrine says, and they will believe it for no other reason than that. Well, what are my deeds proven? Like, your deeds say one thing, but my actions prove another. What are you going to look at? What are you going to see? What are you going to weigh things against? And if we're doing that much and if we're doing our part, then for folks that are struggling with the indifference between family members or the decision between family members to disassociate with you because of your inherent beliefs and you're inherently just wrong because of it, like, I'm sorry, but it's their loss, not yours, and it's not ours. Like, they fail to understand it and to learn. They fail to expand their minds. They fail to absorb. They fail to want to understand. They're just like they're so stuck in that indoctrinated mindset. And that's, I think, a lot of where we get into like cult mentality. Like, at one point in time, cult was not inherently a bad thing, but it has become a bad thing because of that cult mentality. Like, you don't believe. You don't. Yeah, Matt, you're a cult leader. I'm probably a cult leader too because of this platform that I'm on, and Wyatt Coverdale is saying that heathens do not follow a religion, they lead one. Wow. I got to stop and just think about that for a second and invite some discussion around it. Heathens don't follow a religion, they lead one. If you don't have a path, if you're not on a path, then make one. Has been something that I think, like, David, like, you're familiar with Ocean, like, like, his moniker is like find a way or make one. Like, dude, that whole claim right there, like Wyatt's saying, like, heathens do not follow a religion, they lead one. Wow.
Oh yeah, we've even Matt and I have had discussions on that, and I think there was one time he was reading a poem that I had written, and somebody had said, like, heathens don't pray or something like that.
Ancestor prayer.
The ancestor prayer. And
heathens do pray.
I was like, heathens do pray. They very
Big
much
time.
do. And in fact, they probably prayed more than Christians did.
We probably the heathen prayer aspect, that whole ritual aspect was probably introduced into Christianity because of pagans.
And it was just kind of like, to me, it just blows my mind that that's a thing too. Like I said, I was very solo up until I started, working with Matt and getting into the online community of everything. Like, I didn't know this was even a thing that I could look up and find until really I was just stuck reading books and history and doing things myself. And to find out that people are saying, well, the Norse don't pray. Well, that's historically inaccurate, like terribly inaccurate.
Kneeling to the gods, that whole
whole thing. I don't kneel to my gods. Well, that's cool, but they probably don't respect you. Because you're not.
Who the hell do you think you are?
I don't kneel.
The whole concept of
right.
Wyatt says, oh, you guys seem to adore my words, and I'm not sure why. I can't be that knowledgeable.
Because you're a wise young one.
Wyatt, I mean, look, I'm a big advocate of wisdom is wisdom, regardless of where it comes from, and that's from that's from one of the Icelandic sagas. Wisdom is wisdom, regardless of where you find it, or it's a paraphrase. But I do not discount, wisdom from someone or anyone, regardless of age or race or
hell yeah,
that sort of thing.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, we pray, but we aren't pray.
I do.
So I'm glad that Wyatt's part of this, because Wyatt has been, I've shouted him out on the channel a number of times. He's shouted me out on his channel. We want to get Wyatt to 100 subscribers. We got 7 live viewers watching right now. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to his channel. Big bump to Wyatt, because I like what he does. I like the kid. You know what I mean? I think that I feel like I see a bit of himself in me, and other people have seen a bit of himself in me. Like, I mean, I'm pushing 40, and he's nowhere near that. But but I relate, and I understand that wisdom is wisdom regardless of where it comes. So when you hear people say certain things, and we got platforms like this here in the 21st century where individuals, regardless of race, age, sex, creed, whatever, can vocalize and share their information, share their knowledge, why not
I got something.
take advantage of that? And why not like just absorb it? And hey, if it applies, great. And if it don't, great, whatever. But man, like, you could be missing out so badly based on your just, ignorance of the fact. Hey, he's such a young kid. I can't learn anything.
Got something.
Man, shut up.
I got something.
You got
Matt,
something, Matt.
I swear to all the gods, if you are going to rickroll us,
I'm not.
I will come through this.
Uncle Rob.
We've already done that twice today, I think.
No, it's important to draw wisdom from different places. If you take only from one place, it grows rigid and stale. Uncle Iro.
Uncle Iro. Okay.
Avatar.
Uncle Iro.
So, yeah. So, but I mean, that's was it the Bundamunga saga, or I'm saying it wrong? But it's a saga where it's like wisdom is wisdom from wherever it comes, and there's no contesting the source. Like, I mean, I look at it this way. It's kind of almost like in the biblical sense. Like, if for those that David, you grew up in Southern Baptist. Grew up like, you remember the Balaam?
Mm-hmm.
Remember, he's riding on the ass, and he, it's a donkey, an ass.
It's a donkey.
The ass speaks and does things to deter him or to teach him a certain way. It's like this sucker just got told and got put in his place by a donkey. Donkey, right? So it happens across various cultures and various beliefs where, like, hey, you might get your ass told to you by wherever, however. Okay, I'm not comparing Wyatt to a donkey. Let me just go on record as saying that I'm not comparing.
Nah, you're a donkey, Wyatt.
But it, like, even in that lore, even in that Judeo-Christian lore, like, here's this guy who's supposed to be like this great man of God or whatever, and he's getting told a certain thing by a certain way from literally a beast of burden, So anyway, I think this is a great live stream. I think this has been actually a phenomenal audience. I love the dialogue and the discussion. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. I want to kind of just roll the red carpet out for David Vasquez and Matt Petrie. So before we wrap the live stream up and send everybody home to enjoy their Friday nights, etc., David, please let everybody know, kind of who you are, what you do, and how people can support what you do in any sort of way. Kind of the red carpet is rolled out for you, my friend.
My name is David T. Vasquez. I am a writer and poet. I write most of the poems for Matt. I just pointed over there because, Matt's here next to me spiritually. But
Always.
Matt is, he's with Odin's Beard Woodworking, but you can support me on Facebook. You just look up my name, David T. Vasquez, or at Nerdy Dad Wizard, or Nerdy Wizard Dad, sorry. The rest of me, anywhere else, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, everywhere else, it's my name right here, Epic Level Wizard. So you can find me anywhere else by looking that up.
Awesome. Yeah, and I would encourage everybody that's listening, watching, to check out what he does.
Yeah. But what we were talking about earlier, I do have a book of a collection of poems coming out October 1st. It's called A Call from the Gods, Poetry to Deity. Half of it is going to be stuff I've written for Odin's Beard Woodworking. So you're going to get the full collection of that. And then the first half of the book is actually just a full collection of things that I've written for my own personal thoughts on deity and things like that. It's not a holy book. It's just meant for entertainment, just like the Vikings TV show.
Wait a second, though. That's like 35 or so different poems
It
just from
is
here.
at the moment we have, I think, a total of 50 poems altogether in the book.
Wait.
For a total of 54 pages at the moment, with 2 pages describing each section.
That is
So
awesome.
we have 50 poems, give or take.
Man. That's just the warm up to me. That's like, 50 poems. Like that's tremendous. So yeah, everybody, Epic Level Wizard on, was it Twitter and Instagram?
Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, basically any social media platform that I'm on, you can just search Epic Level Wizard. I'm there, except for Facebook. Look up my name, David T. Vasquez.
Yeah. So that you guys, check him out, see what he does. He's, like I said, been collaborating with Matt Petrie at Odin's Beard Woodworking for decades now. Matt, the red carpet's rolled out for you, man. If nobody knows what Matt does, tell him what you do, my man.
Hey you, yes you. We are loved. We do matter. We are worthy. We are not a burden. We are not alone. And most importantly, tomorrow would not be the same without us. It's me and you. And I love you. But I do Odin's Beard Woodworking. I do carvings. I also do Ears Embrace. It's a Facebook online community for people suffering from mental health issues. You can find me, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those good places.
Don't forget the subgroup Air Lifts Weights.
I keep forgetting about it.
That's our we have a fitness subgroup that I run.
Wait a minute, air lifts weights.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a subgroup of yep. It is a subgroup based around.
I feel like I've been called out. Feel like, dude, where are you at, man? Where are you getting them gains, son? Where's that Thor flex going on here, man? Like I've always been like that, in the gym,
I'm
lifting some weights and stuff like that. Like I'm all about Thor, but you got an what is it called?
Air Lifts Weights.
Air lifts weights, man.
Yeah,
dude.
It's the Airs Embrace subgroup.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to join that just on principle, because I need to lift some more weights, man. I need to get back into some. I need to get back into that fitness. You know what I mean? More than just fitness noodle in my mouth or fitness pizza in my. I need to get back into that. Fitness on the real though.
Yeah, we're gonna start walking and doing all that good stuff soon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Kids start school on Monday, so.
Oh man, yeah, it's that time of year, man. That time of year, kids are going back to school.
I met their teachers today. That
Nice.
was awesome.
Good.
They seem
Good.
excited. So.
Well, fun fact is,
Hey,
I'm gonna.
What do you do, Jesse?
What do I do?
What do you do?
You guys know me, man. I just, I put out videos here. I do these live streams. I make rune sets. I've got, merchandise apparel over on Teespring. If you check out the description area of the video from my link tree, you'll see everything that I do and the way I do it. I am just one heathen out here in Midgard and sharing my thoughts and ideas on the ways that, I heathen. And if it helps people in their approach to heathenry, then, so be it. But I'm just one person, one individual that has a platform. And fortunately, I've got plenty of friends who are willing to jump on here and be part of the platform as well. I've also, before we end this live stream, I've also done a thing.
Ooh.
See that?
Ooh.
See that little dot? You know what that dot means, don't you? So yeah, do the right thing and take care of your people around you, man. Don't be stupid. And yep, I got 2 weeks to go before I get the final stamp. Not willing to discuss it, not willing to argue it. It's the right thing to do, and do the right thing for your folk. Do the right thing for the people around you. Talk to your medical professionals, talk to the doctors, talk to everybody. Do the right thing for your people, because that is what the heathen thing is. You take care of the folk around you. You take care of your people, and you do things to take care of the folk around you. Am I right?
Hell yeah, bro.
Yes.
So
And no,
I want.
we will not write you a letter saying that it's against your religion.
I
I have to make a statement on the page. I've had 3 people on Instagram ask me so far. No.
Anybody that
no,
thinks that this is that
no.
anybody that thinks that if you're anti-vax that's a heathen thing, I'm sorry, but
No.
you're barking up the wrong tree.
I'll write you one. But here's the thing: I'm a writer, I'm a poet, and I will make you regret it.
I don't care.
You're gonna be one of those that are gonna be like, oh, per my last email. Like you're gonna be one of those types that just like delivers like this poetically like you're gonna roast their ass
Yeah.
in a poetic sense.
Yes.
I love it. I would subscribe to that 100%. So you guys check out David T. Vasquez on Facebook, Epic Level Wizard on Instagram and Twitter. Check out Odin's Beard Woodworking. He's on Facebook, he's on Twitter, he's on Instagram, and he's on YouTube. Matt, keep carving, man. Love what you do. Love to see what you do. Thank you, Farland. Thank you, Wyatt. Thank you, David's girlfriend. Am I
Yep.
say that right? So Salamantha, thank you. Serpent and Dove, who was commenting earlier. I'm just Roger G. Who else we got here? We've got Brad. We've got everybody. Ryan Orion 14. Thank you all for tuning into tonight's live stream.
Support.
You guys and gals and non-binary folk out here, you're all awesome. We love you. We thank you. Appreciate your support. Check out everybody that's been joining here tonight thus far. You're awesome. So until we all talk again, hail to you. Stay safe. Stay hydrated. Drink water, and may your hearth fires continue to always burn bright. So thank you to my guests and thank you to everyone who's participated out here. Take care and we'll talk again soon.
Bye.